welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Uohna Thiessen and Louis D'Souza. Today is Monday, March the 16th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we are happily off to our second straight week here of being 3 instead of 2. And last week we ended up the show with a little bit of a challenge going in each direction. Who's going to be able to keep up with the other one? We will have to wait and see. It's going to play itself out today. And Uohna, you actually sent me a text message before the show. Actually, I think you sent it to me yesterday about an idea for a topic. It sounded like a good one, but Louis doesn't know about it. So why don't you tell Louis what topic you had in mind, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay. So I thought, in light of everything that's happening, that it'd be good to talk about our wonderful immune system and ways that we can enhance and strengthen and boost our immune system so that we can feel better about, dealing with the current situation.
And Louis was teasing me before the show. He said something like, you don't sound so good. And I said, I feel fine. He says, you mean you don't have the virus? I said, no. He says, I got to find somebody who has the virus. Louis can always be counted on to have a different perspective. He wants to find exactly what it is that he doesn't want before he goes to what he does want. He's very consistent about that.
Okay. I'm curious about what's going on in his part of the world as far as the virus is concerned.
Well, England doesn't have a huge amount of statistics.
I see.
Because they're saying to you, if you've got a cold, stay at home, isolate, and don't tell anybody. I mean, don't go to the doctor and get a swab and find out if you got it or if you haven't got it. So, there could be a lot of people that have it that aren't on any statistics. So
right.
We're also still going to work and still going to school.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Everything is going on as normal.
But we're guessing that that'll change soon.
I see. Have they actually reported any actual persons infected?
One person in my area, which has got 320,000 people. So, no, there's not many. No.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very, very low at the moment.
I see.
By the way, there was some really great news that came out of China where this originated. The province where it originated is no longer experiencing an emergency. The last period, they had a grand total of 11 new cases, so they were celebrating over there because it means...
Yeah, they've had a massive reduction on new cases.
Yeah, for them, the crisis is past.
It's over.
Yes.
They're over.
That's something I'll be asking you about as we talk about the immune system, because I have a question about how it is that something like that ends so quickly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So first, before we can talk about supporting the immune system, I thought I'd give a little biology lesson. About the immune system. Okay. And I'll try not to make it too involved.
Everybody take out your notebooks.
Because I want to focus on one area of the immune system, specifically the adaptive immune system, right? Because that's the part of the immune system that responds to viral infection, but it's not the only part of the immune system, right? We have the innate immune system. That's the one that is very general. It's what we're born with and everybody has, and it deals with very non-specific type of breaches in our system. It involves from physical things like our skin and the fillers in our nose and our respiratory tract. So it's part of a physical defense. And then beyond that, we have the white blood cells, the natural killer cells, the phagocytes, the eosinophils, all that kind of stuff. And those are very general, and they're, supposedly always circulating in our system. And when we talk about ways to enhance immune system, we can talk about how to increase the quality and quantity of those. So that's part of the innate system. But the adaptive immune system or the acquired immune system, that's the one that is actually involved in the very specific response to viral infections because, we know that these viruses, they mutate all the time. So they present as very different. And so part of what the immune system does is first to recognize these cells as being different from our cells and recognize them as harmful, and to launch an immune response to the virus so that it can be destroyed and not cause too much harm. And so within the innate system, there are two types of cells, and you probably have heard about them, the T cells and the B cells, right? And the B cells, you know, so all our blood cells, including our white blood cells, they originate in the bone marrow. Our bone marrow is where all our cells are made. So that's like ground zero as far as immunity is concerned. And so we have these B cells and T cells, and the B cells, you know, they're called B because of the bone marrow. The T cells also originate in the bone marrow, but they migrate to the thymus where they, you know, kind of hang out until needed. And so that's why they're called the T cells. So what the B cells do is they have these receptors, feelers on the surface of the cells. And we have an enormous amount. I'm talking, you know, millions of these cells, because each one has a very specific receptor type antigen antibody that can recognize antigens, recognize the structure of the virus. So the virus they have to be identified first. They have to be tagged as the bad guy. And so that's what the B cell does. The B cell tags them and, you know, says, you know, this guy, he needs to get out, he needs to be destroyed. And then the T cells, they come along and they do all of, you know, the other stuff in terms of causing the, you know, engulfing the virus, breaking it down, destroying it with you know, free radicals and all the other chemicals that these cells can produce. And so that's a very, very condensed version of the immune system.
Louis, all I got to say is I'm so glad that we don't have to actually do this consciously. I mean, this would be insane if we tried to do this consciously.
Oh my God, yes. It's because the details are so complicated, but it's so beautiful how complicated it is. You know, it's like, it is. You know,
there is a beauty in that.
It is. It's really amazing. Those B cells they are something to be studied. In fact, people are trying desperately, scientists are trying to figure out exactly how they work, because they feel that if they could understand better how these cells work, then they can develop better vaccines and other type of immuno medicines for cancer and all that kind of stuff. But that's the immune system. So now, enhancing our immune system. So the first thing we're going to talk...
Can we go into something else just quickly?
Sure.
I wanted to understand the... you know, when you've got an autoimmune disease, what is happening there? Why isn't the immune system recognizing this as bad?
Right.
Why is it
so part of the development of the B cells, remember, they're produced in the bone marrow, and in the bone marrow, so they start off as these stem cell, very undifferentiated cells, and then they differentiate, and it's based on an exposure to different virus, different antigens, different particles that cause the sequential development of these cells. And in the development of these cells, there's a process where the cells that don't function properly are supposed to be destroyed. So cells that are not recognizing, you know, the bad guys and confusing your cells with the bad guys, they are supposed to be destroyed in the natural normal process. And when that process gets compromised, that's what you have with autoimmunity, and even allergies is the same kind of mechanism, where the cells are recognizing what should be a very harmless substance as being harmful and launching an immune attack. So with the same thing, as far as your immune cells are concerned, you know, part of the function of the immune system is self-regulatory in terms of not being too low or not being too high. With autoimmunity, it's your immune, you know, gone rogue kind of thing. It's, you know, doing what it's not supposed to do.
It's I just bring that up because my mother died of rheumatoid arthritis, which killed her over 20 years. And when you come to understand that the body's attacking itself, you kind of wonder what's going on mentally behind it all, you know.
Yeah. Interestingly, when it comes to autoimmune, like you're saying, there is a very large part of it that is psychosomatic. And I'm not saying people are making up this disease. The fact is that stress, and we'll talk about that. Stress is a very strong, how should I say, it dampens the immune system such that it's not regulating itself properly, right? So when you're stressed out, you are activating the sympathetic nervous system, and that causes this low-grade immune response. Immune response shouldn't be low-grade. It should be on, off, respond acutely and then go away until something happens. But because of stress, or it could be other types of circulating toxins, other issues that cause the immune system to be constantly turned on all the time, and then cause them to, the immune cells to start attacking your body's own cells. So that's part of the problem. But, there are things that can be done, both conventionally and otherwise.
So I guess stress then becomes part of the answer, the specific answer to your question, Louis, because you were asking about the mental side of it. And obviously that's going to be one piece of the mental side. Are there other mental pieces besides stress?
Well, they're all related, like anxiety and depression and all those kinds of stuff can cause a major, a dampening of your immune system, essentially. And there are a number of factors involved. Like I said, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, which causes a cascade of events. But it also weakens the function of these specific cells, like the white blood cells, the lymphocytes, the T cells, right? They have very specific jobs that they're supposed to do. Go recognize virus, recognize other things, label them, target them for destruction. Other white cells come along and destroy that. And we're seeing that stress and things like, sugar and other toxins actually cause these cells not to function. Like they just become comatose and they don't recognize the dangers, and they start doing crazy things like targeting normal cells and causing all kinds of problems.
Who knew that sugar was going to actually attack me in ways I didn't expect?
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
yes.
I have an intuitive sense, and I know Louis has more than an intuitive sense about how, most of us who've ever taken in any kind of sugar product, you can feel it. You know what the result is. Mm-hmm. It's fairly obvious if you pay attention to it. If you're not paying attention, I guess you'll miss the signals. But you feel tired. You have that sugar's roller coaster thing where you're all of a sudden you're high and then you're ready to fall asleep, and so you experience stuff like that. But my goodness, you never really realize that it's doing damage inside. We certainly never hear about that. The FDA hasn't outlawed it yet, so
Yeah, there's a lot of research out there, specifically with sugar. There's one experiment where they administered 100 grams of sugar in water. I don't know how people can drink that. And so they measured the activity of the white blood cells before the administration of the sugar and then after the administration of the sugar. And they saw an actual decrease in the activity of the white blood cells lasting for a couple of hours. After a few hours, they recovered. But yeah, for a few hours, they were just not doing their jobs.
Well, they probably could have simplified things. You just handed them a Coke. It would have been maybe not quite as accurate in terms of the measurement, but
Well, there's so other things in the Coke that may have compromised the experiment. But yeah, that's just one of them. There's a lot of other experiments that have been done in terms of how there was this one experiment where the subjects were, I'm not sure if they were dealing with a disease or not, but they divided them into two groups, and one they put on a very low sugar diet, and the other they put on a high sugar diet. And sure enough, what they found was that, so they did have cancer, and they saw that the cancer cells were being starved of energy, and they were dying much more quickly because, of course, cancer cells are much more susceptible to much less susceptible to harsh conditions, especially lack of energy. And so they saw that, yes, there was a decrease in the cancer cells, reduction in the tumors, as far as depleting sugar content in the diet is concerned.
Wow. Okay. So let's bring this all up to date with this coronavirus that's been driving the world crazy. How does that all tie in now?
Right. So there are things we can do to, boost our immune system in the absence of the disease to reduce the chances that we do succumb to the infection. And if we do, to actually speed up our recovery and be in that 80-something% group who actually may get the disease and have little to no symptoms at all. So just as way of bullet points, exercise, diet, de-stress, sleep. Those are the four main things. And so we'll talk about exercise. Exercise is like one of my favorite things, of course, that helps with...
I can attest to that, by the way. Having to do in January. I mean, you and my brother are exerciseaholics. So
yes, we love it. It's our drug of choice.
You love hitting yourself.
Yes, I do. I love hitting myself. I take a hit like 3 times a week. But so one of the things that exercise does, of course, is increase your circulation, increase your blood circulation. So it's going to cause the blood to, go where there might be possible infections, pathogens lying. And of course, that's the blood is going to bring all the white blood cells is going to help fight the disease. It also increases the circulation of the lymphatic system. That's the one that doesn't get, that's like the stepchild, the step circulation that doesn't get enough attention. And here's the thing, with the blood system, we have the heart that pumps the blood through the system, and then it comes back around and gets, oxygenated and all that, and keeps the cycle going throughout our body. The heart does that. But with our lymphatic system, there's no heart, there's no pump. So only when we move, it moves. I shouldn't say only, but our movement is what helps, keep that lymphatic system circulating. And remember, the B cells and the T cells that I talked about, they are in our lymphatic system. That's where they exist. And in order for them to get from the lymphatic tissues, lymph glands down to the lungs or wherever they might be needed, exercise is what helps that. So, in fact, some people say that the calf muscles are the heart of the lymphatic system. So that's why walking and running and those kinds of exercise really help increase lymphatic circulation. The other thing that white blood exercise does is shows that it helps to increase the quality and the quantity of your white blood cells in general. And they had done this experiment, because some people were kind of, not convinced about that because there was some conflicting evidence. They had done some experiments and they showed that in some people, their white blood cell count went up and in others, it actually went down. But someone else repeated the experiment, and what they did was, instead of just measuring the white blood cells concentration in the blood, they actually measured it in the tissues and in the organs, pre-exercise and post-exercise. And what they showed was, in the instances where the white blood cell count went down in the blood, it went up in the tissues and in the organs, where it's actually needed.
So basically proof positive that the exercise is actually doing what you hope it would do, that it would help you be stronger, have a stronger immune system, fight off disease, be healthier, all that kind of stuff.
Right, and get the blood where it needs to go. Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense. I mean, how long have various authorities been touting the powers and benefits of exercise? It's been going on for, decades, generations.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right, so now we can talk about diet, right? And specifically the vitamins and the antioxidants and, all that good stuff. So I want to touch on vitamin C. Vitamin C, we know, is a very potent antioxidant. And what that means is when we have just normal cellular function, metabolism is taking place in our cells. It's using energy, but it produces some waste material, these free radicals, oxygen radicals, and they are harmful. They can cause damage if they're left to pile up as far as build up in the concentration. And so antioxidants are the things that neutralize and get rid of those free radicals. And vitamin C is a potent antioxidant. So these free radicals are also known as oxidants, and vitamin C is an antioxidant. So, and when white blood cells are doing their work, one of the things that they do is they produce a lot of these free radicals, because some of them actually use the free radicals to destroy the virus. So you don't want that to build up in the system, because that puts extra strain on the immune system. So vitamin C helps to mitigate that, to neutralize those antioxidants. Also, vitamin D, what the research has shown is that these white blood cells have receptors on the surface of their cells for vitamin D. So somehow they need vitamin D. They take in vitamin D to help them function normally. And so when in the absence or in a vitamin D deficiency, research has shown that the immune system function is actually significantly reduced. And interestingly, going back to Louis' question, they found that there's, as far as people with autoimmune deficiencies are concerned, a much larger percentage of them than normal have low levels of vitamin D. So it's involved in autoimmune diseases and regulating of the immune system to keep it not too low and not too high, kind of thing. Okay. The other thing is sleep. So we all know we need sleep, but it's very important for our immune system, because during sleep is when the body, of course, restores itself, heals itself, cleans itself. One of the things that happens during sleep, your production of cortisol and all the stress hormones go down. And that allows the immune system to work more efficiently, because those hormones and neurotransmitters, they interfere with the function of the immune system. So sleep brings them down and allows the immune system to do its work, clean out all the gunk, the cells have been working all day, and kind of get rid of some of the stuff and kind of channel it to the organs that can remove it from the body when we wake up. So sleep is very important. That's one of the reasons why when you get sick, one of the things you want to do is sleep, because that's what the body needs to help it recover, because it wants to conserve energy from doing all the other regular thing and use the energy specifically to deal with the infection or whatever the injury is, and then help the body heal itself. And finally, the stress, there's the stress factor. We kind of touched on that a little bit. We know that when you're stressed, you have a lot of these same stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, going through your system. And they can get to levels almost toxic, or if not toxic, chronic levels. Those chemicals, they are important, but they should go up and go down very quickly. They should not stay around for a long time, because when they do, again, the immune system tends to go into that low grade, constant chronic response. And then if you have a system that is supposed to be responding acutely, if it's responding chronically, it's depleting its resources, so that when something really severe happens, it's unable to respond properly. And so that's why it's important to have, periods of calm and to activate the parasympathetic, whatever that means to you, whether it's yoga or breathing or even exercise for some people, or just spending time with loved ones, being grateful, whatever that means in terms of activating the parasympathetic nervous system. That's important in strengthening the immune system. So
let's see if we can take a moment to kind of tie together you've given us the basics on the four factors that you're telling us are involved: the food, the exercise, the diet. The food, which is the diet, the exercise, stress levels, and I forget what the fourth one was. Sleep.
Yeah.
How could I forget sleep? One of my favorite things. Okay, so there's the physiological side of it. Now, Louis, let's go over to what we might call the spiritual side or the source energy side and what Abraham-Hicks tells us. So can you do a quick review? What does Abraham-Hicks tell us about staying healthy, dealing with illness, that kind of thing, in kind of like a quick package?
Well, the important thing to understand is we create our own reality. So what does that mean? It means, first of all, that we're taught that inside each one of us, we have the power that creates worlds. So now we create our own reality. We've got the power that creates worlds inside us. Now, from an Abraham-Hicks perspective and a law of attraction perspective, you now understand that you're at a place where you have access to all the power and energy you could ever need if you have no resistance. So we're looking at the point that we've been bringing up about the immune system and stress and etc. So all the stress aspects will be cutting us off from the power that creates worlds. Now, if we remove those and all the suggestions that we've been given now, then you lower that, then you can access the power because you're now opening the channel to this power that creates worlds. So to me, I always bring it down to the basics, and I'm only looking at it from that point of view. I used to study everything that Uohna has been talking about, the HIRT, the exercise, the sleep, and I went into all these things in great depth. Now I'm only looking at it from a very, very simplistic point of view, and I'm not specifically worried about all the other ones. So the interesting thing that Abraham-Hicks teaches about sleep as well is that when you sleep, you're now, whatever level you go to sleep on, you're fixing your vibration at a certain level and you're keeping it through the whole night. And so if you go to sleep on a high level of happiness or contentment, etc., you will go to sleep and you will keep that level and you'll wake up at that same level, which is very interesting. So it's now putting the mind in like neutral for the period that you sleep. And that is what has always given us the ability to start regenerating ourselves, not because it's positive or negative, but because it's neutral. And because we're not thinking negative thoughts anymore, we're now not stressing ourselves or stressing the body and harming ourselves health-wise. So to me, once you've looked at it from that basis, and it's a very simplistic basis, and you just keep that in mind, you start looking for things that will release, give you relief and release from stress and tension and all that kind of thing, so that you can tap into that power that is within each one of us. And that is what I'm always looking at. All this other information has now become vastly superfluous in my life. It's on a level that some people get really fascinated with, but it's on a level that I used to be fascinated with. But now it's been completely removed, replaced by a very simplistic philosophy that covers all of it, completely and totally. And it's just great because I'm now having less factors to worry about. I've got simplistic things that I can do to get myself into a health and a wellness position. And I love the guy that created the whole term, the wellness revolution. What was his name again? He wrote the book, The Wellness Revolution. It was just fantastic. He got the idea that there was all the sickness and all the rest of it on the one side, and there was wellness on the other, because he didn't know what other term to use. And it's a brilliant term. It's a very apt term. It's a very correct term. If you're focusing on the wellness industry or your own wellness, rather than all the sicknesses and ailments and all the different problems, from a law of attraction point of view, you understand that you're going to be able to move forward and get the law of attraction of its own power to bring in more wellness to you. So yeah, it becomes very different for me now when I'm looking at all these things. As I say, I've got a huge amount of health and nutrition knowledge, and you've seen I've hardly ever used any of it on my show.
This is true.
It's just mind-boggling how much I've been given over the years, and I've studied and I've learned, but it's just been replaced. It's just there's no need for any of it anymore. And I love that. I love the simplicity of it all.
I suspect that part of the reason why it's been replaced is because I think as you were going through your transition period, you were connecting together. You were saying, on the one hand, okay, here's what the physiological side is telling me. On the other hand, here's what Abraham is telling me. And I can piece things together. I can say, oh yeah, that connects to this. This connects to that. So if you guys are okay, I'd like to do that with what you guys have just said right here on the show. See how much we can connect these things together. So Uohna, you laid out some stuff. Louis, you laid out some stuff. You heard what each other said. Where can we find the connections? Let's talk about those connections.
Well, I think one of the connections is back to, of course, the de-stress. That's like one of the obvious ones, because when you and I love to talk about the autonomic nervous system. You had mentioned if we had to do this whole immune system thing, thinking about it would be like crazy. But
forget about going to work. Our entire day would be working on, okay, I got to get myself healthy. Healthy.
Exactly. Right. So we have this body that's doing this behind the scene without us even being aware of it. Right. So, but part of that system is the autonomic and the parasympathetic, right? I mean, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is, the fight or flight, or the one that gets us to go and respond, and then the parasympathetic is the one that's supposed to calm us down and bring us back into a sort of neutral place, as Louis had mentioned. And so the thing is that as a result of our society, we spend so much time in the sympathetic nervous system part of that that we have neglected. But like Louis was saying, if we can find ways to go back to and enhance and just focus more on the parasympathetic, there is an unlimited availability of energy and resources and help that then allow the body to do all the wonderful things that it can do. It can heal itself. It can take care of itself. It can do so many amazing things if it's allowed to. So I think that's kind of one of the connections for me.
Okay, so there's a good one. By the way, I also wanted to include something that Josephine, who's in our live stream, added. She added this actually quite a bit earlier on.
Hi, Josephine.
Hello, Josephine. She pointed out that, I'm not sure what the source of this is, but there are 78,328 recoveries from the coronavirus so far, and the amount of recoveries growing by the day.
Yes.
So, I mean, that happened. It didn't just happen miraculously. There was actually something that happened that led to it. You gave us a pretty good grounding on that.
Yeah. And like we were saying, the news media doesn't report those numbers, and so the focus is always on the other side, and so
it doesn't sell enough advertising. That's the problem. I mean,
basically. So yeah, one of the things we can do is keep that number in our mind whenever they start talking on CNN or whatever other news program you're looking at. Always remember, it's like 80%, like I said, 85% of the people who are recovering and doing wonderfully well, and now their immune system is actually stronger for that.
So, Louis, when you were the nutrition and health and energy and exercise guru, and you were making your transition, what were some of the early connections that you saw that started making it easy for you to go over toward the simplistic Abraham approach?
Well, once Abraham-Hicks brought in the ideas of inside you have the power that creates worlds, it really stopped me because I'd never heard that before from anybody.
It's pretty rare.
And I sat there and I thought, there's a power that creates worlds inside me. What does this mean? My gosh, I hadn't really thought about this before. So inside me is a tremendous amount of power. Inside me. Now, I'm creating my reality from my power. You creating your reality from your power.
Yeah. And
the source power is linked, but we each have that. So I started to think, I still eat very well, very healthily. I juiced my own juices today. So you've got the minerals and vitamins. you drink it straight away as it comes out, and you don't lose the minerals and vitamins to the light and and the heat and the oxygen, etc., which destroys the vitamin C's, etc. Mm-hmm. So, I've got all that knowledge just piled up, but I've taken the simplicity of everything. We've got kale in the garden, and we've got different fruits and veg, and we throw them in the juicer, and it's a slow juice. It's not a fast one. So the fast one will burn off some of the minerals and vitamins, etc. So, I've got like this huge amount of knowledge. We used to teach people that the antioxidant was like, if you cut an apple, it goes brown. That's oxidization. But if you squeeze some lemon on it straight away, it doesn't. So, that's vitamin C. So, that's I used to teach all the stuff in great depth and detail so that people understand how to clear away the rust in the body so that it didn't stress the body and all the things, And you started realizing that stress just equals what you don't want.
Pretty simple when you put it that way.
So now you can take all the different types of stress and lump them into what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Thoughts, and then they start and they are created about thoughts you don't want. That's it. It's nothing else. Nothing else, period. All stress starts off with thoughts about what you don't want, which start manifesting physically in all shapes and sizes, mentally and physically. So you start realizing, okay, so do I have to focus on all these things, or can I just focus on what I do want, and then the body and the mind and the thoughts and everything can start healing and fixing everything naturally without any effort at all, zero effort. Besides, you're now just focusing more on what you want, which, if you think about it, there's no effort. When you're focusing what you want, you're excited and everything's flowing and there's more energy and it's just really, really nice. There's zero effort. There's no trying or pushing or hard or anything like that. So it's completely changed the whole way I look at health, and I can't even teach the old stuff anymore. I just sit there and I'm wasting my time. Let's teach them the basics of the clear, how it actually works in the simplistic way, and get them to focus more on what they want. And it's so simple that it's difficult for people to grasp. So, it's like...
Well, it's an interesting problem. It's a problem that I've seen with some of the LOA teachers who also have the scientific background. On the one hand, like, for instance, there's Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's somebody who comes to my mind, or Bruce Lipton, or one of these guys. On the one hand, they feel that it's very important to lay out what is known scientifically, lay out as much of that groundwork as they can because of the education value. In fact, that was a topic of conversation last Tuesday when we had one of Dr. Dispenza's team leaders, Kim Lee Boda, was on our show with Daniel and Alex, and gave us a very good idea of why it was that she felt that the meditation technique and the overall approach that Dr. Dispenza has produced such tremendous results. I mean, he has a long, long list of testimonials from people with dread diseases and so forth who have, just turned their lives around in some amazing, amazing ways. So you can see why he would come to that conclusion. But on the other hand, and I think this is where you're pointing to, Louis, on the other hand, simplicity makes things so much easier. So the question becomes, where's the balance in there? How much information do we need to have before we finally buy into the easy one? And Abraham's kind of a good example of that, because they give all these workshops. They're constantly talking to people all around the world, and they always say the same thing at every single workshop. Mm-hmm. They come in with the knowledge that we know what all the questions are.
People get bored with Abraham-Hicks. I can't listen to him anymore. They just say the same thing again and again. I've heard that quite often.
So where's the balance of this? There's got to be some balance in here somewhere.
So this is where the balance comes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Uohna, you first.
Okay. So two things. One is that, with the knowledge and the information, I think that, the whole idea is kind of ties in with the placebo. When you have new knowledge, it changes your belief system. And then that goes to something Louis was talking about.
Sorry, too many names. My fault.
I know. About how it's become so easy for him to simplify everything. And what I have found for me is that, I have been exposed to LOA and incorporating it into my life for almost a decade. What I've learned over the years is that there's a part of us, that he talked about the part that is all powerful and has all this potential. And there's still that part of us, that programmed part of us, that has a different perspective, whatever that perspective may be. And so the idea is that, there's so much different language used to describe it, but connecting that part of you, that ego or programmed or whatever it is, to that part of you that's also, all powerful. That's where, that's where the information and the education comes in, right? Because I don't think that is something that happens automatically. Yes, you're consciously aware of the information and you accept it on a conscious level, but on I don't know, I always have trouble with the subconscious or the unconscious or whatever people want to.
You and me both. I mean, I've done entire weeks of shows trying to iron out those terms, so I'm totally sympathetic.
Yeah, so there is a part that is still following a different program, you see? And so that's where the education and the practice and, some of the other things that we incorporate into our lives do. Because, we have to recognize, that we grew up in a society that basically taught us something completely different. So just knowing that we have this powerful entity within us is not enough. At least that's how I feel.
Okay. So Louis, what were you going to say?
Well, Uohna's tried to separate source energy from who we are, or some level of us. And I don't believe that's at all possible. There is no ways any of us would exist in any shape or form without the integration of a source energy. So as Abraham constantly says at every new seminar, they say they go through the little thing again and again and again. And I love it because it really is important concept. You were non-physical before you came into this physical universe. And in the non-physical perspective, you decided to play in the contrasting universe, and you take on this time-space reality body, which plays with the contrast and etc. So, we are mostly non-physical and we're a little bit physical.
Okay.
And those two are always completely integrated. You can't have one without the other. They are one entity that is perceived by the time-space reality physical mind that we're separate.
I don't believe we're separate. That's not what I'm saying.
No, that's fine.
No, because the thing about the English language is that you have to use the same word for different meanings.
It is the most difficult multivalued language on the planet. So yes.
But I would like to. They're one. There's no separation. But there is something to the fact that there are people who are not in touch with, connected to, on the same wavelength. Maybe the receptors are. I don't know how to describe this. Right. All I know is that we have this part of us that is programmed to do, and that's the only word I can think of, to act and to think and believe and do things. And this comes, from our childhood all the way up, right? And that is where, and then as we come to understand now that there's this new part of us that's all powerful, it's the same, we're all the same. But activating that part, that's what, that's where, I'm afraid to use any term because it will not completely explain what I'm thinking. Maybe I should just draw it.
That is the
See, what I'm
challenge.
trying to point out here is that you can't activate it. It's always activated. It's impossible to deactivate it or to reactivate it.
Oh, to connect with it.
So the way Abraham explains what I'm guessing you're trying to point out is alignment.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that's a good term.
So what does alignment mean? Alignment means more in harmony with the power that creates worlds inside you, which means you're less stressed, you got less problems, you're more focused on what you want, things are going well for you. That's what alignment's all about. Mm-hmm. So some people are more aligned than others. Not necessarily true. Different people are more aligned at different times. Okay. So it is a varying scale. It's not a fixed scale. Mm-hmm. So you're now not really worried about who's in alignment or who sees it or who doesn't or who's more spiritual, who's not spiritual. You're starting to focus on when am I more aligned and how can I become more aligned?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And the more in alignment you are, the more you can deal with this virus, because you're in a place that can tap into the power that creates worlds inside you. Mm-hmm. So, we have all these medical terms and all the rest of it about antioxidants and stress and autoimmune system, immune system, etc. So, we've gone and made it very, very complicated for ourselves. But I found that was harming my ability to clearly focus on where my power was.
It's an interesting point you're making, because we do complicate things, and the complication actually works to our benefit in many, many ways. But it also creates difficulties, because if we make it too complex, then we kind of bug out mentally, and then we lose focus, and then now we're right back to, oh God, my life is terrible, and we're right back to where we started. So yeah, this is why I like this topic, and I don't want to spend the rest of the show on it, but this is one I want to revisit over the weeks that come, because trying to connect all this body of knowledge with this new body that Abraham has given us and that other teachers have given us, and see where the interconnections are, I think is how the two worlds kind of come together.
Yes, absolutely.
And become one. Yes. And I don't mean that they're separate worlds. I mean that they are separate fields of knowledge.
Don't use the word separate.
No, they are. They're separate fields of knowledge.
I'm just kidding.
They're different.
I'm just kidding.
They really are. So anyway, that's something to revisit. Something else I wanted to bring up, though, where coronavirus was concerned. Okay. Already they're seeing it in China. I kind of suspect, like you were pointing out, Uohna, the data tends to come more about when things are going bad, not when things are going good. So there's kind of a lack of data in some ways. Mm-hmm. But I have this perception, you tell me if I'm wrong, I have this perception that when these epidemics start and really grow, especially when they go fast like this, because there's no prior resistance built up. Mm-hmm. Interesting, that's another word to come back to, because resistance is used in two entirely different ways by the two people.
The same word, yes.
Same word, yes. But there's this huge ramp up, and then it reaches a peak, and then it's almost like it falls off a cliff. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like it just stops.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter whether you're in place A or place B or place C. It's just kind of stopped.
Right. So that's the thing, right? It's the same as we were talking about with the immune system, because one of the things that about the adaptive immune system is once you get exposed to the virus, you don't have to get the symptoms. You don't have to get infected. You're exposed to the virus. Your immune system goes to work and studies that virus very carefully. Mm-hmm. Those B cells and the T cells, they go to school, they go to university, and they have to take a test.
Do they get a degree? I'm curious. No.
They get to live.
They get to live. Oh, yes. The ultimate diploma.
Right. No, but what happens is you build up this memory, as it were. That's one of the words I used to describe it. And so you now have immunity. That's the whole idea of vaccine. But this is a natural immunity. And so this immunity gets spread to everybody. And after a while, you're no longer susceptible, and the virus goes away, and then they mutate and come back next year.
And I can understand what you're talking about there. I think what I'm trying to point to is it seems like it can get to a point where it's almost as if I don't know how to call it. It's not really unconscious, but it's the non-conscious, let's put it that way, the part of us that's not really paying attention, the non-attentive part. Okay. The non-attentive part of the human race seems to reach a critical point where all of a sudden there is some mysterious, not to be explained exchange of information. Everybody's got this information all at once, even if they never got sick, even if they never actually touched the virus. Everybody seems to get this immunity all at once.
Right.
Which seems almost miraculous.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it reminds me of that story. It's very popular in the LOA world about the monkeys and the coconut.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly.
So, somehow the other monkeys learned how to use the tool. Even
on the other side of the world, when I think they're talking about in UK, they want people to get the virus because they want to hit that herd immunity, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
It's a very different way that the UK government is handling it to the whole of the rest of Europe.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. I'm really, really interested because I have a feeling that the UK way is better in my mind.
I wonder, Louis, do they feel that their healthcare system is more equipped? Is that one of the things? I know that some of the issues in other parts of the world, they feel like the healthcare system is just not equipped to handle a peak that gets.
I don't think anybody's healthcare system anywhere in the world is ready to, is ready to deal with that amount of respirators and all the other things that they will need.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point of view, I don't think any country would say that they're ready for what the virus could possibly require from the people.
Okay.
So no, I don't think UK's NHS system is in any way robust. So they're doing their best, but underfunded and we've had free medical forever, and we've had to pay for it out of our tax dollars, not like America where it's slightly different, where you have to kind of get your own insurance, etc. So
yes.
It's drained our country, and a lot of people from Europe have come and used it, etc., etc. So, the funding and all the rest of it hasn't been great, and consequently, the ability for it to serve everybody perfectly is nowhere there. But nothing's perfect in any case. But they're doing a very, very good job, and you have to give the NHS its full kudos and the people who work there. There's so many things to say about the health and nutrition. You see, the biggest thing that I learned with health was how to work with energy of the body. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lung flow I can do, but I don't have to go to a respirator or do anything else. I've got tools in my bag that I can use. Yes. And different people have different things, they have Bach remedies, and they have tissue salts, and they have herbs. There's so many different modalities out there and things that people can use. That this is what they use. This is what's good for them. But I haven't found, because I've been through most of them, or to a large degree, because I've loved experimenting and trying all different things. Mm-hmm. I still found energy to be significantly better than all of them put together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So once you start working with energy, you start having a toolbox that, in the beginning I felt I was cheating. Mm-hmm. This is just like not what anybody else can do. And it's like, I don't believe it. It's quite amazing. It's incredible how powerful it is. And the worse you are, the better and faster it works.
Yes.
Talk about that for a second. Why is that true?
Well, I think if you understand when you know what you really don't want, you get a much better idea what you really do want, don't you? So it's the contrast, which is, of course, our teacher, is just to a higher degree, and therefore the ability to see the other side of the coin just gets that much better, because your desire is strong to heal, to know what the other side is, not to be broken, but to be healthy or better or well or whatever. So you can really see it. But if you're just a little bit sick now and again, and you got a cold now and again, you got a little bit of a runny nose, and it goes on for weeks and months and years, you can kind of live with it. But if you really get bad, you can hardly breathe, and you, like I was with my asthma for many years, then you really think, I want to be able to not have this anymore. I will really want to be able to breathe normally and easily and all the rest of it. So that's the reason I would say, well.
Mm. I like that. That actually ties in with my idea of struggle.
That's what I was thinking about when he was describing it. And he wasn't thinking in terms of the word struggle.
He wasn't,
but it was the same general topic there.
Yes,
yeah.
I was thinking that too. But yeah, very fascinating, actually. I just want to mention.
Struggle is usually associated with those really, really difficult situations.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Louis, I think it's fair to say when you were in the midst of dealing with that asthma, you were struggling, and that struggle actually
but no problem with that. But I understand the difference between wanting to be healthy and breathe easily versus struggle.
Sure.
And I understand that one side is of what you don't want, the word struggle, not want to be there, and it's a certain vibration. And what I do want was a completely different vibration far away from the word struggle.
Actually, my objective, one of my objectives is to change the energy around the word struggle. So it's not, it becomes an opportunity and not something that you are averse to. But yeah, we'll talk about that some more.
Well, I think one of the things we're going to discover, because I'm sure we're going to talk about that quite a bit over the weeks to come.
Wow, 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I know we fly through these every single time. But one of the things I think we're going to find is that a lot of this has to do with the multivalued nature of the English language, and has a lot less to do with what Abraham calls vibrational energy. Because I think, for instance, when you start talking more about how you see struggle, I think Louis will say, well, I don't see that as struggle. I see that more as focusing on what I want. And I think we're going to find that kind of thing happen.
We go back to the English having one word to describe everything. So, but yeah.
Well, not necessarily, but we will discuss that next time.
Okay. Well, he's reserving his right to disagree. That's fair enough.
I am very much so.
Okay. I love it.
Which is a good thing. Before we've got 3 minutes left, I'll do a quick promo, and then I'll be asking each of you to give one last thought about what message you would put out to anybody who's still perhaps concerned about coronavirus. Okay. But first, I just want to remind people, if you are not yet subscribers to the podcast, please become one. This is the kind of great content you get. It's different content every single day. Today it's science versus source energy, but other days it's completely different. And the only thing that they all have in common is that they all touch upon the law of attraction. So become a subscriber. You get 5 episodes a week for free, coming right to your device, and it's so simple to do. Most of you have figured out how to do it, but for those who have not, we made it really easy. Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net, and at the top of the page, you'll find instructions for how to get your particular device subscribed so that all the shows come right to your device every single time we publish them. And of course, check us out on YouTube, where you can actually see us as we're doing these podcasts. As we're recording them, we live stream them to YouTube, and you can watch the replays there as well too. And so just subscribe there. You can also click a little bell there and get notified whenever we are live, so that you can actually tune in, like Josephine and others have done, to the live stream. So, but whatever you do, make sure you subscribe, because you want to keep these shows coming every single day. And we really are serious. That's why we call this your daily dose of happy. Your daily dose of happy comes from focusing on stuff that you like, that you feel good about, that actually improves your life, as opposed to like 99.99999% of the other entertainment out there. So talk about the difference between knowing what you don't want and knowing what you want. What you don't want is all the rest of that entertainment. What you want is LOA Today. It makes it just that simple. So thank you very much for that. And I guess, Louis, I'll go to you first. What's the one takeaway that you want to send a message to people who are still a little bit concerned about coronavirus and how they're going to handle it?
It's very simple. Forget about being concerned. Focus on what you want. Healthy, happy lifestyle. Go for it.
Yes.
All right. Uohna, your turn. What's next?
Yeah, in line with what Louis said, remember to breathe, to love, to laugh, to have compassion, and let's spread a different virus, and one that's good for everybody. And you can do that actually through social media. It doesn't need a physical medium. So, although that might be a physical medium, but you know what I mean.
Wouldn't that be a nice change for the use of social media?
Energetic virus.
That's it. Exactly. Yes.
It's been an interesting thing, because as this whole thing has cropped up, if you look in the LOA related groups, most of the conversation is about how it's going to be okay. Do the steps you normally do, stay away from watching news, blah, 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 blah. Almost any other channel you look at, it's all about the world ends today, details at 11. I mean, literally.
Wash your hands, sing happy birthday, wash your hands.
It's literally two entirely different, divergent messages going on. It's quite fascinating.
And you can see the response in like how we are dealing with it, as opposed to some of the other, because there's so much anxiety and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, I actually dipped my toe into the contrast to kind of interact with the others and almost got my head taken off.
Now you're contaminated.
I'm contaminated. No, not at all. I would have been contaminated perhaps if I had stayed there, but no, staying there was not an option. Yes. Anyway, okay, well, this has been good. Thank you guys very much for your perspectives. I mean, I can just see this is just going to keep evolving. I love the way the show is coming together on Mondays. Yes. So thank you, Louie. Hope you have a great week.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Uohna.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, live streamers, and we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.